I think a lot of us know about sitting down too long. It's a tough thing to change, I think, in a lot of the work that we do. I think that is the primary causation. If we were just to move around more, we wouldn't have tension. But I'm sure you sit down a good amount for your work. And as much as people would like to believe that I'm running around moving all the time, I wish. I'm sitting down right here, just like everybody else, doing that, plugged in. So when I ran into this many years ago, I had to figure out something for myself. You know, my back was hurting. And I found out that ultimately the real solution is get up and start moving around.
Welcome to Talking Vibes. Today, it's an honor for me to have a special guest, Mike Chang. Welcome.
Thank you, Christian. Happy to be here.
Yeah, today we are going to talk mainly about tensions. Why we're going to talk about tensions? Because this is why I invited Mike. I have a lot of tensions in my lower back, or let's say I had, and I did in certain training. And now I want to dive with Mike into it. What do you think about it? How we can improve it? And what's the secret about being in the flow, not only mentally, but also with your body? So let's jump into this.
Mm, mm.
Okay.
Well, tension with the back. I think a lot of us know about sitting down too long. It's a tough thing to change, I think, in a lot of the work that we do. I think that is the primary causation. If we were just to move around more, we wouldn't have tension. But I'm sure you sit down a good amount for your work. And as much as people would like to believe that I'm running around moving all the time, I wish. I'm sitting down right here, just like everybody else, doing that, plugged in. So when I ran into this many years ago, I had to figure out something for myself. You know, my back was hurting, and just too tight from sitting around. And I found out that ultimately the real solution is get up and start moving around. Yes, but what do we do when our jobs and our business and our operation involves us to stay in front of laptops and devices? What do we do to overcome that? There are simple ways to overcome that, or to basically what I call like resetting. And I do this all the time. For people that watch my social media, on like IG, for example, Mike Chain Official, they'll see me. I'm on there for like 60 seconds. Like, hey guys, try this out for 60 seconds. Shake, tap, and within 1 minute, you feel better. Now, it's not going to be a long term solution, right? The long term solution involves a lot more, but it at least buys a person, maybe an hour, 2 hours of time before, if they're consistently sitting down, they're tight again. It's like your hands get dirty and you wash it. So I find the real solution has to do with a couple of layers. First of all, movement, morning and evening practice. So this way we can start to break all of the old tension that's accumulated in the body. And then the next thing is to look at other ways that the body is getting tight, which is not just a physically sitting down. It's the emotions that we feel. It's the thoughts that we have that's also getting the body to tense up when there's no real need. That means we're sitting here, relaxed, doing our thing. We don't technically need to tense up a lot of areas, but we often do because the body is responding to what we are thinking in our mind. We're thinking of, I have issues. What am I going to do? I don't know. I'm worried. The body's firing and is tensing up much more than what's needed.
Yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing. That's literally the sum up of the podcast we're gonna do today. But if we're gonna dive deeper, before we're gonna dive deeper, first of all, why you are sitting here, and the reason is your story impressed me, to be honest. And I know you are the founder of Six Pack Shortcuts, right? And there you run this about 3 years, I guess, and then you
Yeah, yeah.
and then you
Before,
literally sold it, huh?
yeah. We had it operating for about 5 years.
5 years, okay, okay.
Yeah, and and
So
and
you're
then
a successful, so you're an successful entrepreneur, who who created a big company. It was well known, and then you sold it. And what happened during this time with you, and why you decided to go out?
Uh, well, I sold it not because I was really wanting to cash out from it. Yeah, that wasn't the
Mhm.
reason. I I actually walked away from it, and then people thought I was completely nuts for walking away. You might, you should get paid for it. I'm like, yeah, 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 we'll figure it out. I didn't even care. And yeah, it was definitely a interesting time in my life. But the reason why I did that was because I wanted to figure out how to be happy, like how to actually have inner peace. I s- I had an experience of that for about 2 weeks, and I was just in this complete feeling of liberation, and I didn't know that feeling existed. So once I had it, I wanted to figure out how to hold on to it. Like, what do I need to do? How does it all work? If not, it would just be an experience and then it'd be gone. And I wanted to figure out how to actually hold on to that. So I had to go and learn a lot of different things. Before that, I was just like many different trainers out there. I know how to build muscle, I know how to burn fat and help people with structuring exercise, nutrition, things like that, mindset. But this was a totally different thing. We're talking about energy. We're talking about expanding consciousness. We're talking about silencing thoughts. We're talking about changing belief systems. We're talking about this inner knowing lots of information without learning anything. How does that all work? It's like a totally different world. And I started to dive in. I started to understand how our consciousness works. And and I started to once I started to understand those things, it just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. Ultimately, what I do now is I teach people how this all works, and I teach them a practice, the Flow 60 practice, on how they can move towards it. And there's many different modalities and training methods I can support the same thing. It's something that's been going on forever. Human beings, as long as we remember, are trying to be happy, be fulfilled, be happy, um, uh, have peace on the inside. And obtaining that is always the same. It's always the same thing. There's different ways of doing it, but accomplishing still the same thing. And that same thing is ultimately in our body. We need to feel calm and at ease. We need to be relaxed. Um, we need to feel connected, right? Like we can actually feel ourselves, not think about our body, but actually feel the body on a very deep level. So we feel connected to ourselves. And then mentally, we need to have stillness, because with that sense of stillness, there's a stillness as in no thoughts in the mind, quietness, stillness, silence. Use the mind when we need to use it. It's like using the mind is like, it's like I have a knife and I'm cutting, I'm cutting, I'm cutting. Nothing is wrong with using a knife to cut things, but when you don't need to cut, put the knife down. And if you can't put the knife down, you're trying to cut everything. You're not even cutting. Time work is done. You're still trying to cut something, and that's our mind still trying to figure out something when there's no need. You're done. And so that's what we need to do in the mind. We just need to have stillness when there's no need to do things. And if we have that, then everything else comes from it. We get to have peace, we get to have happiness, we get to feel joy. If we don't have that, then we're always feeling like there's something wrong. There's always something to figure out. Nothing is ever satisfying, no matter what level of accomplishment we have. And
I
that's the
think
ultimate thing to reach.
a lot of people who listen to this, I think they can agree to this level that they have this feeling, that no matter how far you go, or what you're doing, you're not satisfied in the on the inside. Yeah, you always, okay, I need to do this. The brain is always running, the mind is always running. Mm. But I loved your introduction where you said you were in a company, yeah, a successful running company, and then you walked away to find something, yeah, where you don't know where you could find it, and then you said you had these two weeks of this certain feeling. How did it feel there, or what happened there in exactly in this transition? face? Because that, for me, that's really interesting to hear.
The story is an interesting story. Uh, I had an experience over 6 hours where I was able to identify um, how my ego was created, how my sense of self was created. I was able to go through every single milestone in my life. I was 32 years old at the time. So I went through every single milestone, every single main event from work to things that happened and went through it to see how my belief system was created, to see how my values was created. Because things happen and from those events, we start to come up with a decision. Based on that, this is the way I'm going to start doing things from now on. Here's how I'm going to be. Here's what I'm not going to do from now on. Right? It's those events in our life, they shape the way we see ourselves. They shape the way we decide how we're going to lead our life. It's from events in our life. And as I started to go through events, I started to recognize a few things. Number one, all of these stories that I had about myself, about life, about how it works, it was all made up. I made it up. I could have made up another story. If I did, then my life would have been different. And my life was entirely dictated by the stories that I said in my head. That was the first realization that I had. And then the second one was because the stories are made up, because, one thing happens, but we can come up with a different story about it, right? There's different perspectives, right? 10 people can experience the same event and we all have a different way of explaining what happened and in our point of view. So what determines that the point of view that I had that created my story was, let's say, the best one for my life? Because it does dictate my life, right? If I say this was a great event, I loved it, then from this great event, I would probably do more of it. I'll do it in that way, and vice versa. If I said, "Oh man, this is really bad. I shouldn't have did it," well, then now I'm going to go into the future, maybe avoiding this type of situation, this type of person, this type of event, this type of thing. So the way we look at things dictates the story that we have about it, dictates all of our decisions, and it changes the course of our life. And I realized that I've been I've been leading my entire life just based on these stories that I had in my head, but the stories are made up. And if I made up a different story, I would have had a different life. So I said, man, so that means I'm just who I am is just made up of stories, right? I'm just stories. That's kind of strange. Maybe there's more to me than stories in my head. So then when I had that realization, I realized that, well, I don't think I'm just a story because at that moment, I made up a new story about my childhood, about how I grew up. We all talk about how we grow up. We've shared it a lot of times. And when I shared that story differently that night, I realized that if I have always said that new story that I said that night, my whole entire life would have been different because my life was all driven by this childhood story. The need to prove, need to be better, need to show them that I'm better than what they thought. They picked on me and now I'm going to be the best. And, it's all of this needing to prove and feeling like I'm not enough. And that whole story drove my work decisions. It's what kept me working 7 days a week, 80-hour plus weeks. It's what drive me to sacrifice and say yes to this, no to that, all of those things, all from this idea that this is what I'm meant to do. This is what's important for me because of what happened in my childhood. And that night, I actually said a different story, one without all of the needing to prove, without the lack, without the being picked on, without the drama. I said a different story that night, and I realized that that new story that I said, if I have said that story throughout my life would have been different. And that's when I realized that I'm my whole life was governed by stories, and the fact that I'm not even a story. I'm who I am is not a story. I have a story, like I have hair, you have hair, but if we were to all go bald, you would still be you, I still be me, just without hair. you know. So I'm like, no, I'm not this story. And if I'm not this story, then who the heck is this voice in my head? I thought that was me there talking. That's me. That's me. Well, actually, just like the hair is me, yeah, but if you cut off the hair, you are still there. the hair doesn't determine you. It's just part of you, like the shirt. So when I had that realization, I started to have this reality shock that my whole life was just kind of made up. It was just, I'm not who I think I am because I'm not even the voice in my head. And I thought that was me my whole time as far as I was alive. So then when that was happening, I started to breathe because I remember when anything dramatic happens, just breathe. I've been hearing that my whole life. So as I started to breathe, a sensation started to develop on the top of my head, like a feeling, like a vibrating feeling, a feeling that felt like I needed to touch it. Just like if your arm hurts, naturally you would touch it. Nobody would says, "Hey, your arm hurts, Christian. You should touch it." You would naturally put your arm there, right? Your stomach hurts, right? They would naturally put your hand there. And because my head felt kind of almost pain, but not exactly pain, but it felt off. So I touched it. And every time when I touched it, it felt better. So then I touched it. And then every time when I touched it harder, it felt better. So I touched it harder. And then the touching on it eventually became tapping, which became knocking. And when I knocked on it, it felt better. So I'm just going to do what feels good. I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am knocking on my head and it felt good. And I'm here deep breathing because that's what you're supposed to do when something major is happening. And as I'm knocking on my head and I'm deep breathing and I'm constantly still talking about the stories of my life because I wanted to figure out how my life was created. As I started to do that, things started changing inside of me. Like my body started feeling very, very light. Pains in my body started to go away. I had back pain, really bad back pain. The pain started to decrease. Every moment I was doing it was decreasing. I don't know why my back pain was decreasing. I was stretching also during this time at times, but I've been stretching for years and years. I still had pain, but somehow that night, whatever I was doing was decreasing the pain. So I kept going with it. And then by the end of 6 hours of doing this nonstop for 6 hours continuously, the pains in my body all went away, gone completely. And my mind, no worries, no fears, nothing. It was completely gone. And my mind was completely silent. And my body was so light, I was about to levitate off the ground. And my understanding of myself and my life and everything was at such a high level that there was no fear, no worry. And the bliss that I felt was beyond any happiness that can ever explain. It was at such a level that I realized that this is what I've been looking for my whole life. This is what I want in life. I want to feel this way. And that nothing else is worth sacrificing. Like if I could feel this way, nothing else matters. Nothing. Because it cannot touch everything's experienced through this body. And when this body can feel in this way, and when my sense of knowingness, who I am, is this way right now, like I became the way I explained it that night was I was like a supercomputer. Like I'm like a bot. Like I have no fear. I knew everything I needed to know. There was no doubts, nothing. I am now something different. Who cares about business now? Who cares about social media? Who gives a shit about what you have? Who cares? You are now something different. What do you care about all the other stuff? That's like such minuscule. You know what I mean? It's like I only had one thought at that time, one drive is I want this. I want to maintain this, whatever this is. I don't even know what this is. I have no idea, but I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna hold on to this. I'm gonna figure this out. And that was the promise that I made to myself. And then once I figured out, I'm gonna teach people how to do this because everybody wants this. They just don't know it. They don't even know what this is. They have no idea. And I'm in the health space and I never heard of this. I've been training since I was 11. I'm 32. I've been training for 20 years. I never heard of this. I have no idea what this even is. But this is the best thing ever. How come I never heard of it? How come everybody that I know, nobody's ever told me about it? Hey, there's a state that you can be in, that your mind is silenced and you just feel like amazing is beyond. Never in my life did anybody talk about it. So I said, and yet I'm having that experience at the moment. So then that's when I decided, well, I'm going to pursue this fully because I need to figure this out and nothing else is worth it. And when I told my partners about it, they decided that, they want to stay in fitness. And I said, okay, well, no problem. because I was going to stay in fitness and do that as well. But it didn't work out for them. They wanted to just stay in fitness. So I said, great, well, let's figure out our separation, because I'm going to go pursue this. And it took me many years to start to understand how this all works, and I had to understand a lot of things, because, it's much more, it's complex. But then at the end, the complexity came down to be much more simple. You know how it is. It's like first you learn something, it's like doesn't make sense. And once it makes sense, it seems so simple for the person who knows. Right. But that's how it is. Now for me, it's really simple. What I explained right when we started, that's it. But for somebody, they'll probably have a gazillion questions on why, and how. But ultimately, that's it. It's like the most simplest thing that we need to do to to maintain to maintain a state. It may not be as high as where I was at, but it is much higher than most people's experience of life. Because most people are just constantly feeling uncomfortable. Just always uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what's going on. They go from high discomfort to medium, regular discomfort. And once in a while, they feel okay because something great is happening, and they go through maybe a day or 2 or 3 days of life is great before now I'm back into this feeling of hardship, suffering. We don't have
As
to be like that.
first of all, thanks a lot for this sharing, because that's a beautiful experience about. I would put a little bit the word samadhi into your story. Like, course, I'm a big fan of Paramahansa Yogananda. I do a lot of meditation, Kriya Yoga, stuff like this. And I have to admit, I had like similar experience, but for sure not that long and not that profound as you experienced. And I'm a mechanical engineer. Yeah, I have a master degree, and so I'm always were interested in both in the matrix, yeah, in the material world, but also it fascinated me how the metaphysics are working. And during this journey, I spent also we spent with my wife 3 years in Tulum, and there I also had like chance to see a lot of indigenous cultures, like from Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and how they see life, how they work through it, how what they yeah how ch- how they live, how they think the world should be. And there was what not was not my first chance, but it was um the chance, I would say, to try ayahuasca out. Yeah, and it was I was with Maria Crespo. She works at Holistica. So if some of you is in Tulum, go there. I call her always Mother Tulum, and she made it happen for me that I could sit down with the Cofanes from Colombian. And the interesting thing is, where I want to go to your story, is it was the first time, like 7 days before the ayahuasca was, I had already made diets and whatever to prepare for this sit down. But interestingly, my hand got a lot of dark spots, like even like really black spots, and it grow about these two fingers. And I was really surprised, like, okay, what is this? And then in a deeper meditation, I understood that this is the preparation for what will happen during ayahuasca, so that I can dive more deeply. And this was my first experience where I personally could feel that time does not exist, so that we are combined with the future and with the past. Everything happens in the now, and everything is connected. And now to your story. 2 days ago, so before we're doing this podcast, I had one of the deepest shocks of fear I ever had. And it was literally I think 7 p.m. I was working something on, and then a deep fear rose in my whole body, and I'm like, wow, what's that? And it was so overwhelming. Not that I lose control and get feared, but it was like, okay, I cannot do anything anymore. I have to go on the couch and just lay down. I said to my wife, I don't know what's happening, but you literally cannot talk to me right now. Everything I say is not true, not related, because I'm loaded with fear. And then I worked through it, and now I know why. Of course, that for sure, your system is more developed than mine. But today we are sharing 1 hour, and our brains, they are connected right now. And your brain has a gift for me. And I'm so sensitive that I can adapt. And I worked that already out 2 days ago. And that's so mind blowing for me right now to have this to have this experience in real life. And yeah, I wanted to put that in. But that's the also for the audience, that's the beauty about taking programs, watching podcasts, or taking a course at Flow 60. Like, if the more sensitive you are, the more you can dive into it, and the more you really can adapt to it. Because at the end, it breaks down everything to frequencies. Yeah, the matter is it's not as hard as we think, solid as we think, and yeah, I'm really impressed that you had such a, profound experience in your life already. Of course, that was the main question, or the main reason I invited you. I literally could feel through the video that your body is there's literally no tension inside. Yeah, I saw you on video, and I'm like, Hannah, and this flow is not only this man is not only talking about flow. He is. I could feel the pure flow in it. Yeah, and I said, okay, I want to meet him in the podcast and see how it feels. And now I hear the story, and everything fits together from my perspective. So for me, I think that my legs, the tensions are from on the inside, from the feet into my lower back. That's the last position in my body where I'm not able to dive deeply into it, and to get the tension out. And it's something that's literally there since I'm born. Yeah, I always had this tension there. But like I tried also, like, in Tulum, a lot of acupuncture and psychedelics and whatever. But I'm not coming on. I was not able to come to this level. At the beginning, it was in the upper legs. It was also numbness. So now the numbness is away, so I can feel the tension. But still, yeah, there's tension there. What doesn't allow, or that doesn't allow me to bend fully over. Yeah, I cannot touch with the hands the ground when I bend over. So from this sharing, what are you feeling about my situation?
Mm. Well, my first thought is the body can always adapt. We always start off with a certain canvas or a certain physical framework, strength, weakness. Right? We always start off that way. But then from there, our lifestyle and what we do starts to dictate which direction it goes to. So in this case, if you're not able to touch the ground, right? Because the back of your leg is really tight. I'll say, like, your hamstrings are very tight, right?
Abstract.
Which means if hamstrings are tight, there might be some tightness also in calves as well. So it's hard for you to bend your feet back. Um, then that would create tight glutes and tight lower back because they pull at it, right? So my first thought is, um, do stretches not just every day, but do them throughout the day to directly stretch those areas. Because oftentimes the solution is more simple than what people imagine it to be. But what people struggle is not of knowing what to do, but the actual doing part. Because doing part takes a lot of work. The doing part takes so much work. It's like running a business. People think you just started up, do this, and now I get to do what I love all the time. Unless you love marketing and tech and copy and design and everything other than the actual product part, unless you love that, you're in it for a surprise. And don't think you're gonna have lots of freedom of time. You're gonna be the hardest working person in your company. And people don't, they don't realize that, right? And so when it comes to training, it's actually very similar uh, mindset. If you were to go and let's say do a handful of stretches, like first one would be forward fold, right? For either sitting on the ground or standing up, forward fold. But instead of doing forward fold once or twice a day, do it, let's say every hour for about maybe 2 to 3 minutes after you have a full session in the morning and a full session in the evening, and a handful of maybe 5 to 7 exercises that all are stretching around that area because you have to stretch your hamstrings, your calves, your glutes, your lower back. You have to stretch your sides as well. And so, because everything is all connected, the fascias are all connected together, the nervous system's connected together. So the tightness in that one area is also causing some tightness in other areas, but that's where you're feeling it the most. So if you want to loosen that part, you want to loosen other things as well. So doing that by itself is automatically going to decrease the tension by a lot. But most people will not do that much of it because that takes a really big change in their lifestyle and their habits and their behavior. People struggle to stretch 3 times a week, and I'm suggesting stretching 12 times a day.
12 times a day.
Yeah, you just set a timer on your phone to go off every hour. You download a interval timer on an app store. This is the way to do it. You don't want to just grab your regular timer. Okay. You want to download an interval timer and you set it to go off at every hour. And you set it for, let's say, 12 times. So every time it's 12 sets of 1 hour each. And then you hit start. And then you do your first practice right there. Could just be a few minutes. Should not be very long. And then you're off working, doing your thing. And then beep, beep, after an hour, it goes off. And then there you go. You drop down, you do the exact same stretches. And then it takes a few minutes and then you're done. And you just go about your day. Yeah. So yeah, 12 times, right? That's crazy, right? That's crazy. Right? Who would be doing stretches 12 times a day?
Who can afford it, huh?
Now, talk to people who are flexible. Right. You talk to unflexible people and they're like, yeah, that's crazy. That'll never happen. Talk to people that are flexible and ask them, how often do you stretch? You're going to get a very similar answer. Nobody's going to say 1 time a day. They're going to go stretch. Well, I mean, I'm always moving around. I'm always moving. I'm always getting into positions. Right. Non-exercise people look at stretching like an exercise. It's like a thing. Right. Flexible people don't look at stretching as a thing. It's just a way of living. It's like I'm hearing a podcast, right? Okay, then I'm going to cross my feet here. And technically, this is stretching, right? I'm crossing here. I lean forward here and I'm stretching my glutes right now, right? Or I'm like talking. It's like, I might put my feet out here and just stretch, it's like someone's like, oh, I need a special thing for this. No, this is just lifestyle. This is just how I do things throughout the day. It's just how I move. So then I only tell somebody stretch 12 times a day because most people don't have a habit of actually moving their body, stretching their body. And so they stay in this very mechanical positions of like standing, sitting, laying down. And then their bodies get really, really tight. So then when we introduce this concept of do these stretches a whole bunch of times throughout the day, it's for them to get used to moving more with their body. And when they do, their body isn't tense anymore because most people don't have, they don't have a lifestyle that involves a lot of movement for the body and increasing the range of motion. So then they tighten up in places. So it's like business. You ask a business owner, how often are you working? What's the answer? Oh, I work from 9 to 5. Right. Uh, well, I mean, what do you consider working? Do you consider working as like thinking about business? Because if that's the case, I don't stop.
That's true, huh?
True? You're a
True.
business owner, right? You've been around.
It's 24/7.
It's yeah. I mean, and someone goes, "Well, how do you be present with your kids? How do you be present with your wife? How do you be?" Well, when you need to be present, you do your best to be present with them, and then once you're done with that, you're back to focusing on business. That's the reality. That's the truth. But now, somebody who doesn't have a business will think, "What? Well, what do you mean? No, no. I need to have my off time. I need to take my break." Right. And then once you start a business, you'll realize you try to take your off time and break, and you're going to be out of business because the market is very competitive. You see, that's life. That's real. But only people who actually run a business for a while understand this. And the same thing when it comes to stretching, for example. Same thing. You'd ask any flexible person, and they stretch throughout the day. They don't call it stretching anymore. It's just moving. It's just part of how I move my body. So it's very simple. Okay. It's just a shift in mindset. So then that's why we set a timer. So then this way we don't have to think about anything. And you set an interval timer. Okay. So you set it for 12 rounds of 1 hour. And we can make it really, really simple. Check this out. 12 rounds of 1 hour. And then every time when the 1 hour goes up, right? You stop it, you get up from sitting down, and you do, let's say, 3 stretches, right? Let's say just 3. And 3 stretches can be under 60 seconds. It can be probably 30 seconds. And then you get back to work. You just stand up and you do it, and you get back to work. You're done. And then in 1 hour, beep, 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 it goes up off again. You take about 30 seconds or so. You do those 3 stretches. That's 3 stretches. That's about 3 seconds for transition time, which means there's 3 transition times. So that's 18 seconds. And then now there's 12 seconds left for holding the stretch. So you hold every stretch for about 4 or 5 seconds. So it's very quick, simple, right? And if somebody thinks that this is not going to do anything, try it out. If somebody thinks this doesn't do anything, here's another idea. Go and do 10 burpees every hour and watch that you can't even move the next day, right? Just 10 burpees. Yeah, you'll realize by burpee number 5 that, holy crap, this is tough. So stretching is the same idea. For anybody who doesn't stretch, this will change their life. And it's very little. It requires very little commitment. And what is 30 seconds times 12? 6 minutes. That's nothing, right? What's 12 times 60 seconds? That's 12 minutes in a day where there's 24 hours. There's 18 hours of being awake. That's nothing, right? People stand around doing random things for longer than that. So this is just about being able to have a very simple structure for them to follow, something that's very repetitive so that they don't have to think, something that is simple to do so that they don't have to try to figure out what to do. And just by doing that, the body starts to let go. It's actually a very simple formula. In the morning time, if they wanted to, they could do a longer practice in the morning and evening if they want to take it to the next level. If they don't, then I would suggest doing this because everybody can take 6 minutes from their day, right? But they're just having to take 30-second increments. And 30 seconds, do 3 stretches in 30 seconds. The first one, you stand up and then you do a forward fold, reach for your toes, right? And then the next one, you can stand up and you can go into a back bend, right? And then let's say the third is you stretch to the side and then you stretch to the side, done. Sit down, go back to work. It's so simple, but that little bit is going to open it up. And then from there, a person is interested in doing more. And then now they can go into deeper practices, longer practices. But in the beginning, start off with something simple. And over time, for the ultimate solution for you is imagine that you're stretching every morning, every evening, and doing little pockets of stretching throughout the day. For sure, your range of motion would increase. And if your range of motion increases, then your body has ability to expand. And therefore, tightness has to decrease for your body to expand. And then when your tightness decreases, pain disappears because pain only happens when the body's tight. There's never pain when the body's loose.
Perfect. I love the idea. It's nice way of implementing into a daily life. And what I also wanted to ask you is like, what do you think about the idea that attention is always connected with I don't know if the English expression mental issue is the right thing I want to use, but like say every tension is connected with a thought. So that there need to be a thought that creates a tension in your body. What do you think about that?
Very true. Very true. So when a person thinks about this, automatically will go, well, I should go into my thoughts and let go of the ones that are creating the tension. Right. And and that's one way. But here's what I found because I spent about a year and a half going that route. And then I discovered an interesting thing. I still remember the moment when I came to that realization. I was reading a book and I don't even remember what book it was. And and it said that enlightenment, because I studied a lot about enlightenment. What is it? How does it work? What's actually happening? And and there I remember reading this line that says enlightenment happens through the body, not through the mind. It was through the body. I said, what? And I started to wrap my head around. I was like, wait, I thought it was exactly like what we're talking about. Clear your fears, silent your mind, let go of everything in your mind. And then you expand into this consciousness, this inner peace, have this experience of enlightenment or just bliss. And then I read this line, and it says, happen through the body. I go, wait, that's not what I'm understanding. I thought it was basically through the mind. And I remember my friend was at my house at the time. Her name is Shelly. And I go to Shelly and I go, Shelly, I go, is it true that enlightenment happens through the body and not through the mind? And she looks at me and she goes, yeah, duh. I still remember when she said that. And I looked at her like this, like, why didn't you tell me the whole time? Like, I'm like, I still remember the look. It was so funny because it's like she's been in personal development for I think 8 years at the time, and I'm just starting, and so everything is still new. And I remember thinking, "Oh my god, wow, I've been focusing on the wrong thing." So so then I had to have a deeper understanding, like why is that, right? Why is that? And and then I started to dive into it, and this became the understanding because ultimately there is truth around the concept uh, that our mind, if we let go of everything in our mind, right, then our body's totally at peace. Right? Many people's work focuses on that, right? If you look at like Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, a lot on the mind and and meditation. Well, so here's what I discovered. The reason the reason why this is true, enlightenment happens through the body, is because the mind is it's an expression of the energy that we have in the body. It's an expression of the energy. Now we can say the the mind can also control the energy the other way around. In other words, if I think very negative thoughts, I change the energy in my body. Or if I think very positive thoughts, I change the energy in my body to be lighter, higher frequencies. Yeah. Yes. However, if I was able to control my mind completely, I have control over my mind, then I can do that. Let me just think positive thoughts, right? Very generalized, but positive thoughts. My vibration goes up in my body, and now my energy goes up, and I feel good, and everything heals. But in order to have full control over the mind, we have to go through the body. Now, once you have full control of your mind, yes, go ahead and use your mind to do all the things, right? Which is why yoga, right? Raha yoga, the mind, that's the highest level. But nobody starts off there. They all start off with asanas. They start off with shat karmas, right? The cleansing before even the asanas, right? It's because we have to go and clear the vessel first so that we're able to access the mind and have control over it. And once we have control over the mind, now you have control over the thing that can control everything else. But to even get to the control of your mind, you have to go through the body. And then once I understood that, I said, okay, that makes sense, because I felt like there was truth to the fact that we can use our mind to change things. But I was going for a year and a half and I wasn't able to do it. And I felt like there's something else that's missing. And then once I understood this, now in reality, they are almost both technically true, but they're at different phases, you see. And so in other words, in the beginning, when a person does not have full control over their mind, which is pretty much most people, go through the body. Go through the body so you can connect deep enough to the glide, cleanse the body, cleanse the body. Because when we cleanse the body, we're clearing the container, which is the body that's holding the energy. And when we cleanse the container can hold on to higher frequencies of energy. It can hold on to more energy. More energy can be sustained inside the body. And when this happens, we start to be able to control the mind. The more we do that, at some point, the mind becomes part of our control because we're able to control the conscious mind, the subconscious mind. We're able to control identity, which means we're able to be detached from identity. We have an identity, but we're not attached to it. We have thoughts and plans, but we're not attached to it. Now we have control over it. Now we can use the mind to change our state. Up until then, we have to first control the mind, get access to it. That's through the body. And because most people are not at that advanced stage where they can control their mind, their path is through the body. But now, where does the mind come in? What do we need to cultivate the mind? Should we just not do the mind at all until later stages? No, you have to cultivate it in the beginning. But the purpose of cultivating it in the beginning is not to not control the body and to change the energy. The real reason is so that a person can do the practices that they need to do, that they can make the changes that they need to make, because they won't make it unless they understand. And the understanding is through the mind. You see? So in other words, if I say, hey, Christian, go just stretch 12 times a day. That's how you'll do it. Okay. You'll go, man, that sounds pretty extreme. I don't really understand why I need to do that. That's a lot of sacrifice. That's a lot of commitment. Even if it is only for 6 minutes, I mean, I got to set a timer. That timer's going to go off every day. Why? And maybe there's another way to do it. Why do I need to do that? And so there's not going to be a full understanding. So then the ultimate answer is you're not going to do it. So now we both tell somebody, hey, person, you're dealing with a lot of things. You need to meditate. Just make sure to meditate for 20 minutes a day. Just start off with that and everything's going to work out. They go, meditate. I got bills to pay. I got this drama person in my household that's just giving me all these problems. Meditate. I need to go and do something about this problem. And you're telling me to meditate as if I have a problem. I don't have a problem. That person's my problem. So they won't do the meditation. Now, you and I have to sit there and we'd have to go and explain to this person about how reality works, about how they change their vibration, all this stuff. Mind, you see. So once they get the understandings through the mind, then they will do the practices. Then they will do what they need to do to actually change the inner state, change their body. And once they change their body enough, they have control over their mind. And now they can use their mind to dictate things if they want. But up until then, they need to go through the body. And in order to go through the body, they have to learn why they need to do the things that they need to do. Because as we know, these things take a long time, right? They can't just start it for a few weeks and stop. They have to continue it. So anything that requires constant continuation, they have to have a full understanding of what it is that I'm doing. Why is it so important? What type of results am I going to experience? Why not go with option A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Why do this when I can pick from all of these other things? They have to have an understanding. That understanding is mind. That's why they have to cultivate the mind for the understanding of it. If not, why would they do the things that are required? That's why people need to cultivate the mind. Not because the mind is going to actually create the results, but the mind is going to get them to make the changes in their body that gets them the results. The mind is going to get them to take the action.
So in short, I love your expression. Okay. So in short, you say that the tension I feel in my hip string that are there, I would say all my life. I like in this setting right now. I would also say it comes from past life, yeah, from karma or however you want to call it. And that's as long as, or that's how I feel it. It's nothing from this life. So this is my personal blockage for my further way on enlightenment, and that's yeah, that's how I feel it, and it matches totally to your explanation. And but I want to go one level deeper. When I also trust in the universe, yeah, and I live in the flow. And the beginning of the year, so almost 3 months ago, there somebody came in my life, and Mikko is his name, and he yeah, once he saw me. We were sitting in the sauna, yeah, and here on Thailand, Koh Phangan, yeah, Xangtiva, and in the hot tub, and he says like, "Hey, your right shoulder is standing a little bit in the front, yeah." Um, I'm specialized on stretching, fascia and whatever. Yeah, I think you could need my help. Yeah, and then he explained a little bit like the things he does, and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm not willing to pay someone to show me to how to lift some weights." Yeah, and you're like, no, it's not about weightlifting. Yeah, it's more profound, more deep. And then we started to work together, and he really pushed me over my personal boundaries when it comes to tensions in my body and the pain that is related with it. And the pain I experienced doing the stretchings, and he's also his nickname is like Viking Hands. He's a German guy, but 220, yeah, and 1.5 meters wide, yeah, okay, and as big as my face, and, and he like, but also spiritual guy. So I see there a point at your body. I have to push it, and I'm like, and the first time I'm like, go on, you're breaking my bones. And like, no, we're far away from this position that anything is breaking here. Trust me, trust me. And I really I love him, but okay, the pain I experienced there is so huge that it's in the sessions. I So it's like a half an hour warm up session, yeah, like mobility, flexibility, or maybe 45 minutes, and then it goes normally over to this pushing the button style, yeah, I would call it. And I really, yeah, open myself up for this kind of pain. I also drink a lot of my crystal cacao awake helps me a lot to release and to feel more of this pain. But still, at the beginning, especially when he pushed some points on my body, the pain was so intense that I literally kind of lost part of my consciousness. So that I was there, but not truly, just like if you're doing a long run and you're totally exhausted on the body level, and you just, yeah, you just continue because you want to reach a certain goal. And the pain was so intense that I literally, yeah, was just there. And even in one moment, it was so intense that I only like literally with open eyes just saw stars. Yeah, and I never imagined that. First of all, somebody could release. I feel it like a release. Yeah, because when I feel it, it feels like a release. That somebody could release so much pain just with pushing a certain body, and that so much pain was stored in my body before. As you said in the beginning of the intro, yeah, you had this moment where you touched 6 hours, and all the tensions went out of your body, no? And you became fluid, yeah, or liquid. And yeah, what is your perspective on this topic? Like that, this these tensions can come from past life, and if you go into it, there comes so much pain out of it that it literally shuts down your whole nervous system.
Well, so when we look for pain in the body, there's there are lots of blockages in the body. We can find the pressure points in there. And the general idea, if somebody goes, well, I don't know where the pressure points are, there's a simpler way to do it. It's a really simple way. Find pain in your body and consistently agitate the pain. We call it agitating because what happens? You press it, it hurts. Good. Keep pressing it. It hurts more. We'll press it harder. And then as you're it's like you can use anything. You can just grab anything, you can grab anything. You use your hands and just find the pain. And somebody goes, well, I have a lot of pain. Well, great. Then it won't be very hard to find it. You know what I mean? It's like, so you don't need to look at a chart and this is where it's at. No. Just here. Where are you feeling the most pain? Well, I got pain everywhere. Well, then start off with one that you can reach, right? And you can press on these pains. There's so many ways to agitate the pain. And I say agitate, but we can call it massaging it. We can call it working at it. We call it releasing it, whatever word you want. But the idea is still the same. You're pressing or you're agitating the pain and making yourself hurt. That's just what it is. I like to be very direct and clear. So this way it doesn't have any spiritual wrapping around it. It's what it is. It's going to hurt. And when it does hurt, relax. And when you relax, yes, it's hard.
As long as you're not saying enjoy it, yeah.
It's just what it is, right? And let me give you an example. Last night I slept with my foam roller, and I got the foam rollers that got all the bumps on it, and I slept on it. So this way it's resting on my chest, it's resting on my side, and it just hurt like crazy, and then I'm just relaxing into it. And then I move an inch and then it hurts. The pain shoots up a lot. And then I roll a little bit more and it hurts so much. And I roll back and it's just like agitating pain. And this is what I'm doing before bed. And I did a little bit of it this morning as well. First thing when I wake up, I stick that foam roller right there and I just lay on it. If it doesn't hurt, I find another place. Oh, there's pain. Great. Because the general rule is very simple. If you have pain in your body, there's blockage in the body. And if there's blockage in the body, then energy is being suppressed. There's emotions that are maintained as well. Because I look at emotions. Emotions is, you can call it energy in the body that's stuck. You can call it stories in the mind. But I see it as, if you have a story in your mind and you're not emotional about it, then it's not drama. It's just a memory, right? Right. And we all have memories. But when we have a memory of something and if we're upset about it, bothered by it, we call it trauma. So in reality, it's not the memory, it's the experience. It's the experience that we have that's attached to that memory, attached to what happened. So when we have pain, that pain is the physical symptom, the physical signature of that emotion. It's the physical representation, pain. If you have no pain, then you are not emotional. You are at peace. You are just fine all the time. If you have a lot of pain, you're emotional left and right about random things. It doesn't even matter. You're just upset about things, bothered about this, bothered about that. And then now those are the two extremes. So if a person is more towards the having some pain in my body, then you have some emotions. If you have a lot of pain in your body, or you're emotional, upset, and stressed about everything, and vice versa. If you barely have pain in your body because you do a lot of things, you're stretching all the time, you do jujitsu, you're grappling, you're rolling, you're wrestling, you're doing all this stuff, your body doesn't have pain because you're always doing things to maintain a very strong and agile, stress resilient body. Well, notice the person's personality. When you talk to a person like that, everything's kind of always okay. Everything's kind of chill. There's never a big drama, right? And it's not because of their you see, like, find anybody that uses their body a lot, and therefore the act of using their body means they have to have no pain. Like if you do a lot of grappling, you can't have pain in your body because you can't be there flipping around and have people press you and choke you and all that stuff, right? But a person who doesn't do that, they do a little bit of it. I mean, they're destroyed. Person who does that very often, they don't have that much pain in their body because they can't. Their body has to release it by doing those activities, right? A person who's doing a lot of stretching, a lot of body work, they don't have that much pain because of what they're doing. Then have a conversation with that person, and we will find that person's viewpoint on life is very different than a person who has a lot of pain. And their actions are very different, not just viewpoints, because people can all have a great talk, but the way that they act, what they do is very different. What they do, people aren't as attached. People aren't as, they don't make a drama of things. They don't get upset. They don't get afraid. Not the same way. Much, 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 much less. Versus a person who has a lot of pain in their body. They're always stressed, frustrated, upset, worried, afraid. Always about something. Doesn't matter what it is. And it's because they have so much stored emotion in the body. But the way that that stored emotion is experienced is pain. So then coming all the way back, if we have pain in the body, great. Keep pressing on it. Keep working at it so we can release it. And all we have to do to remember is to relax when we're doing that. Because if we tighten up, then our action is trying to release it. And then the other part of our body is not letting it go. So we have to relax as we continue to press it, massage it, work it, stretch it, relax. Relaxation allows things to release. Relaxation is the same thing as surrender. You don't surrender by doing this, you surrender by letting go, right? So then we let go, surrender, or relax, or soften up. And that's it. Now, every single person, Christian, can become their own healer. Why go and pay all this money and go out there and schedule and spend all this stuff when they haven't even done the most basic thing? It's like, yes, if I'm doing all of this work and now I want to take it to the next level, I want to get very, very specific. I want to know this techniques and details. Great. Then go find somebody, go find an expert who's really good at it. But most people are not doing what they can. A simple way for them to find pain? Go lay on the ground. Go roll around on the ground and you'll find some pain. Right? Grab a roller like me. I mean, people can grab a tennis ball. You can grab a roller with knots on it. Oh, that one. And you'll find pain easily. And just start rolling around your body and you'll find pain left and right. And whenever you find pain, keep rolling at that area and relax. And don't be surprised if emotions come up. you know? And now when emotions come up, it's because the emotions, it's connected to that pain. So then when we're messing with the pain, emotions come up and suddenly we have a thought about something that happened. We have a realization about something because they're all connected together. And then when we have that realization, this allows us to be present with the event, present with the activity, present with that person in our life. And now we're able to get the lesson that we need to have. We're able to become conscious of the information that we need to become conscious of. And that's how we, quote, process things. If we aren't conscious of the event that happened, of what we feel about this person, if we're not conscious of those things, we haven't really fully experienced that thing. And that thing will always be like a thorn messing with us in everyday life, dictating our decisions because we haven't be present with it. We haven't let it go. So then when we're poking at our pains, we will suddenly start to have realizations of things in our life. And then we get to properly look at it. And then by having these realizations and looking at how we feel about a person, what do we feel about our life? What do I really love? What do I really don't like? This ultimately starts to shape the direction of our future. And so this becomes so now we have a chain effect. Now in the body's pain is decreasing because we're constantly working the body in different ways. And then in our mind, we're starting to become more clear. Because if I have something in the back of my mind that I haven't dealt with, it's here. And then I have another one, it's here. And I have different ones all in the back of my mind, like a table that's filled. And it's hard for me to focus on this thing because everything else is there. And so the way we get those things in our mind to drop away is to release the emotion that's maintaining it here. Because all of these things in the back of our mind is all pains in our body. And the moment that you get rid of a pain, this one drops away. And then you get rid of the other pain, that one drops away. So physically, we feel stronger, healthier, lighter, less pain. And then mentally, our mind is more clear because these things are also processed. They're gone. So
Okay, got that. So for my hip string, it's just keep going. Okay. Yeah, I will do today. Tonight I will do a big session, and until it's really to bring a little bit funny stories into it. It's really I put the towel between my teeth, bite on it, and then like from the deepest area, I scream. Yeah, to release.
let me give you a tip.
So
Try to cry when they work it.
if you say this, my whole body goes like. I think maybe I'm not ready. But you think crying is better than screaming, yeah?
Here's what's happening. Okay.
Tell me.
The goal when we're working the pain is to let it go, right? Now, which one is more towards letting go? Crying or fighting? Does this look like I'm letting go, or this looks like I'm attacking, right? Outwards. Versus letting go, like relaxing, crying. That's not attacking outside. That's going inwards, right? So if we try to cry, when we feel the pain, try to cry. I'm telling you, what that will do is you're not going to tense up when you try to cry. You're going to do the opposite. You're going to relax and try to surrender to the pain. And in the charts of when we have anger, we are still in resistance. When we yell, scream, we are still in resistance. This resisting is still holding on. So when we cry, crying is about letting go. It's about surrendering. It's about letting things be. Now, why cry? Why can't I just say relax, right? Why do I say cry? There's all emotions of fear are the same. If you're angry, you're afraid. If you're sad, you're afraid. Still. But they are very, very different, right? One is like, and the other one's like, right? And so they seem to be different, but yet they are the same. It's all driven by fear, but they're at different levels. So when we cry, we are still afraid of something, but we're not fighting the thing that we are afraid of. We are accepting it now. We're allowing it to be there. When we are yelling, we are afraid of something, but we are fighting it. We are going against it. We are resisting it. And so it's easier to resist than it is to accept, especially when it's something that feels very uncomfortable. It's easier to resist it. So our natural tendency is to fight it. Ow, this thing hurts. I don't want to feel it, so I'm going to try to resist it. But we need to practice to surrender to it. And when we surrender to it, instead of just trying to relax, we look for the tears because we're trying to release the fear. We want to accept the fear fully. And when we look for the ability to cry, we start to identify what we are really afraid of, what's really bothering us intellectually inside. But that will happen first by fully relaxing the body, looking for the tears. When we look for the tears, first the tears will come out. Secondly, you'll get the understanding. Because when we stop fighting things, we start to become aware of what is really bothering us, what our real resistance and fear of. And it all has to do with some way of how a person or the event or a situation affects us. But we have to take a look at what's really bothering us instead of resisting the situations. Because ultimately, all life is situations in life and how it influences us. We are always trying to maintain a certain level of identity, a certain way of being. So then all of these things, circumstances in life, affect the way that we are, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we try to be. So then if we stop looking at the circumstances and instead look at us and just realize I don't need to try to be all of this thing, then it's not about everything on the outside anymore. This is just about letting go of the person I'm trying to be, letting go of what I'm really wanting, surrendering to it. So then we feel inwards. We cry because we're upset. We're afraid that we're not going to get this. We're afraid that we're not going to be this, afraid of that. So we fully surrender to that fear. And that's the crying. And then when we surrender to that, it doesn't matter on the outside anymore. It's about inward. So things on the outside can happen the way they do, but we are not going to be influenced by whatever happens on the outside. Now things can just flow and just be the way it is. But we will have a level of centeredness, a level of peace. Like we'll have a level of acceptance because we're not constantly trying to create a certain way of being, and therefore resisting the things on the outside, not letting things happen the way they happen, not letting people be the way they are, because we want to be a certain way. So I want you to talk to me in this way. I want this situation to happen this way so I can be a certain way. So when we let that go, things will just be the way they are. And this is how we can have inner peace. But this is why we don't go with the yelling and the anger, but instead we go within. And why crying? Because it's sad to go ahead and let go of how we want to be. Sad to go ahead and realize my dream and all this stuff is not going to happen. Yes, cry about it. So when you cry about it, what happens is you let that go. And once you let it go, you realize that everything that we need is already inside. But we start to experience that. We don't get the intellectual, right? We talk about the intellectual right now. A person will experience that. When I've experienced this so many times, and it's the most absolute truth. But in order for a person to attempt that, they have to have an intellectual understanding of why they would need to do that. So then now they go, okay, that makes sense. Let me try that. Okay. So now to summarize it, anytime when a person is feeling pain, if you want to let go of something, focus on relaxing, focus on crying. And it's really hard for certain people. Like myself, it's really hard. For somebody, great. They will just turn on the faucets and it won't stop. And that's good because if they did, then they'll cry until there's no more tears left. And once that happens, a sense of renewal is going to occur. And all this happened is create the pain. That if you don't know how to create pain, go lay on something hard. Lay on something hard in your body and the pain is there. I mean, look around the house. What do you have? Okay. Lay on it in different ways. Oh, and you're going to be painful. B. Okay. Number 2, now that you feel painful, relax and try to cry. Oh, you're not crying? Go harder in your pain. And at some point, yeah. Yeah. It's so simple. If you're not crying, you haven't made it hurt enough, my friend. Go into another part of your body. Why don't you let go a little more body and let gravity do its work? And the pain will be so big, you're going to do 2 things. You're going to either cry or you're going to get really upset and yell your brains out. One of the 2 things are going to happen once you make the pain big enough. And if you cry, congratulations, my friend, you are releasing. You see? No, this costs nothing, requires nothing, but an intellectual understanding of why they're going to do something that seemed to be so crazy. But yeah, it's not crazy. This is exactly how a person can start to let go of things and clear themselves energetically. Again, mind first to understand that, action to actually do that. Anybody who just learns about that will do nothing. But if you take the action on that because you understand how it works, the results come.
Beautiful. Thank you. It's really okay. I'm now I know where I have to change my setup. Okay, find the going into crying. First you said that why you're not crying. There was really, I don't know, the emotion of shame came up, and the resistance. Maybe I mean I have cried in my life, but not maybe not more than 10 times. I would say, like, truly from the heart. So I think that's something I need to practice on. I will do it today, I promise you. I will call Mirko and say, or he's already coming at 5. I will say, okay, today we're gonna push it in a certain direction until I cry. Yeah, you're not allowed to stop before. Yeah, okay.
It's gonna be a game changer.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this detail. I mean, I prepared some questions, yeah, and I think we should go. I mean, there are also different stuff, yeah. For example, acupuncture, psychedelics. I mean, you literally could name some more. I tried a lot what's out there, and for example, with acupuncture, it felt right, and it was interesting, but the pain was for sure not that deep, and yeah. And with the psychedelics, it was for sure more, I would say, mind expanding thing. I had also moments where I cried a lot with psychedelics, but also, like, literally since 2-3 years, I don't even take it anymore because I'm not interested in anymore. Yeah? I do more my meditation and training stuff like this. So, what is your personal experience, maybe, or perspective about things beside finding the pain and push until you cry?
I feel the same about psychedelics as well. It's been many years. I mean, I'll say about maybe about 5 years now for me. Before that, I use mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca combo, uh, and I couldn't. I stopped doing smoking. I used to smoke marijuana, and at some point, it just was not any good for me. It just brought me down. So I think psychedelics is a great way. It's a great way to, number one, experience how it's like to not have the same belief systems and thoughts and that same perspective. It's a great way to know that perspectives can be very different and that in a new perspective, life is awesome. So then it creates the proof within a person that without any external things changing in my life, I can experience life in a very delightful, wonderful, joyful, fun way. Nothing has changed. Nobody's changed. I changed, and now my life can be experienced entirely different. I think it's a great way for people to have that experience and to know that it's possible. Then the next thing is um, using psychedelics as a way of healing. It has to be very intentional in that way. And when a person is in this altered state of mind, they see things differently. And their energy is very different. Their perspective is very different. And they have more energy. And so, what I didn't mention earlier, when I had that experience where I was in the 6 hours of tapping and breathing and all of that, I was on mushrooms and MDMA for the first time on both of them. And so that gave me the shift in perspective because if not, I would not have saw my um, childhood grow up story in that new perspective. But in that altered state, I did. And once I saw that, I came to the realization, like I explained, that wow, if I just saw it this way, everything would have been different. And it also gave me the energy to sustain going through my mind and going through all of the milestones of my life for a course continuously for 6 hours, which takes a lot of focus, a lot of determination, and takes a lot of energy. And I also had a very extreme, um, an extreme intention to want to change, which happened slightly before that, and that also is important because the motivation. the drive? Why does a person want to change so bad? Right? We know that desires to do things is so important. And if a person doesn't have a desire that is so huge, it's almost on the level of obsession. If they don't have that, they're not going to stay focused and to sacrifice enough things of what it takes to accomplish it. So I had a very, very extreme high desire right before that event. And so then psychedelics can be used that way. And I've used psychedelics afterwards many, many times to see if I can recreate that event, which I never did. I never recreated it the same way. I had different experiences that allow me to learn and grow. Uh, One time I was I was about to come to Bali. This was, I would say, about 7 to 8 years ago. I never been here, and I was about to leave and come here. And I decided to do a psychedelic journey with a few friends, and some of them were just doing it for fun and just hang out. And I remember it was LSD, and usually I would take about one of them, half or one, and that'll be perfectly fine. I'm gone. But that day, I felt that I should take three, which I never did, and it's extremely amount because they were really strong. But I just felt the calling to do that, so I said, "Okay, I'm gonna do it." And my friend said, "Okay, I'll do it with you." I said, "Okay." And as the energy started coming up, and anybody that's taken psychedelics, you have this immense amount of energy, and most of the time you start to move, and you get really open eyed. And so I was about to go into my normal thing. Oh, start to play, roll around, have fun like a kid. And then I had this thought. The only reason I'm doing that is because I have a lot of energy. And so if I have a lot of energy and I'm moving around, I'm actually using the energy, right? I'm I'm draining the energy. I said, "Well, why am I going to drain the energy? Like, what's the point of running around and playing? I'm not here to play around. I want to go deep within. So why am I going to go and do this normal things that I do? What would happen if I don't drain this energy? This energy is coming in. Why don't I direct the energy inwards? Why do I exhaust it outwards? Right? So, so I said, okay, all right, let me just relax. And so I'm shaking on the inside, and I'm here. I close my eyes, and then I start to meditate. And within about 15 seconds, I can feel myself floating out of my body. And then I can hear the sounds of my friends talking in the house, and it was becoming farther and farther. I was like, I don't know if I want to leave my body right now. I don't know if this is the the perfect time and place. I'm sitting on the porch in front of the house. I was like, no, no. So I opened my eyes. I was like, I can't close my eyes. If I do, I'm shooting out. So I opened my eyes and said, okay, all right, too deep. Let me just stand and relax. So I just relaxed. I walked around, and I try not to exert any extra energy so I can maintain it. And then after maybe about 20 to 30 seconds, I had this extreme level of bliss and understanding that the idea of fear was a joke. The idea of worry, it's a big joke. Like, it's not even true. It's just completely made up. There's no reason to be afraid at all. It's just like a cosmic joke. It's like it really is. It's like, huh, let's go play a game on these beings, and let's create a thing called fear. What is it? Well, they're just gonna be afraid of things, but there's no reason to be afraid. But they're just gonna be afraid of things, even though there's nothing real that's gonna happen. This is gonna be fun. Let's see what happens.
Love
It's
it.
just this big, a huge cosmic joke. And I remember having that realization, and it was so funny. I just started laughing because it's such a big joke. It's like, it's just bullshit. It's the most biggest bullshit ever. And I remember I was laughing about it and just kind of in this blissful state of like, life is great. And then but I wasn't, and then when I had then I had a realization that I'm having a good time. The moment I even had that realization that I'm having a good time, I dropped instantly. Like that very moment, I dropped. And then when I realized that I dropped again. And then when I realized I'm having a good time, I dropped again. And then I had one thought and then I dropped multiple times. And then suddenly I'm standing there. The blissful feeling was gone. I said, what just happened? I mean, literally like 10 seconds ago, 8 seconds ago, I'm in just blissful state for fear was a cosmic joke. Now I'm standing here, nothing is happening. I said, wait, what just happened? Okay. Okay, just relax, relax. Breathe, relax, do what I was doing because I don't know what I just did. And I'm just relaxing. And I remember, okay, I was looking up at the sky. So I'm just looking at the sky. It was at night. And then within about 10 seconds, I'm back where I was. Everything is
Wow.
great. Right. And then I had the realization that I'm back. I dropped. And then I had the realization that I dropped and I dropped again. And before I know it, I'm dropped multiple levels all the way down and I'm standing there again. Nothing's happening. I'm looking around going, what did I just did it again. So then I did the same thing. I relaxed, focused on my breathing, just kind of walked around, relaxing, being present. And then I'm back up to the same thing. So I did this cycle about 10 times. And I came to a understanding of what I was doing. What I realized in that journey is that it's not about stopping thoughts. Because, a lot of times we think our mind is creating all of these things. So silence your mind, stop the thoughts, and everything will be fine, right? You'll be present and then life will be great. No problems in the present moment. Well, technically, no. It's not stopping thoughts. It's stopping the awareness of ourself.
Okay.
Okay. The awareness of ourself, not thoughts. Thoughts happen after the awareness of self. Being aware of ourself, that is the real causation. And if you're not aware of yourself, your level of peace and fulfillment is beyond. It's so great. If you just have no thoughts, you will feel better than if you had thoughts, but you will not be able to expand at a high level. If you want to experience really high levels of bliss, stop thinking about yourself. No awareness of self. I came to that understanding at that moment because the moment when I was aware of myself, I was already dropping in consciousness. I can feel it. I was like so expanded. I just stood all of reality and it's this cosmic joke of humanity. And suddenly I shrunk down. I lost that understanding. And then I lost it again, And then suddenly I'm standing there just being a present, just seeing the trees and nothing else, and no realizations of anything. And this is all within seconds. And then I expanded back out. And every time when I dropped is because I became more aware of myself. And when I had a thought, I plummeted. With one thought, I plummeted. And so after I did this 10 times, I had the understanding that, wow, it's not about thoughts. Our awareness of ourself is what limits us. It's what limits our life. If we aren't aware of ourselves, our life expands beyond imagination. So I'm walking into the house to go and tell my friends what I discovered. And every step that I'm walking in, and I started to drop. And then I remember by the time where I said, hey guys, and they all looked up at me, I realized that whatever words I was going to explain could not even come close to the experience that I had. And I said, oh, never mind, guys. And I just turned around and walked out.
Okay.
That was
That's
such a profound experience. One of many, but that one really stood out because it gave me that understanding. And up until then, I did not have the understanding of awareness of myself. I thought it was all about thoughts in my head. And ever since then, I took it to another level. I started to practice on letting go of awareness of myself, not thoughts anymore. And then yeah, there are different times in my life. Then I had another time in my life that I was able to do it, but it was but it was not intentional. And I'm gonna be aware of our time. I'm gonna give you a short version of this story. Um, about 4 years ago, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and we were running out of money. I haven't really worked. I sold my company. I'm living off of savings. Savings is starting to dwindle down. And one night she looks at me and she goes, "Hey, Mike, what are we gonna do? Baby's coming." and our savings is running low. And I said, hey, don't worry, we're going to build this, do this, do this, do this. She looks up at me and she goes, well, you've been saying this for 3.5 years. When are you going to do it? And me being I could create all this. I was about to come and be defensive and tell her my whole plan. And then I put my finger up and I was about to start. And then I stopped. And at that moment, I realized she's telling the truth and I'm just being defensive. And what she said was exactly true. I have not done what I said I could do. And I've been talking for 3.5 years. So then I closed my mouth. I put my finger down and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I walked out of the room and I started working. That moment, it was about 9 o'clock at night. And I worked till about 2 a.m. in the morning. I stopped. And the next day I woke up and I worked. Up until then, I worked about 10 hours a week. At that moment on, I worked about 70, 80 hours a week. I didn't stop. I just kept working every day. Morning to evening, morning to evening, morning to evening. The baby came, I'm working morning to evening. My sister passed away during that time. I worked morning to evening, took care of the funeral stuff all the time, nonstop. Fast forward 6 months in, I got so much work done. And it's not new for me to work morning to evening. I did that back in my six-pack shortcuts days. So, but I got more work done than I ever have. And I remember one night around 10 p.m., I'm looking and I'm like, what has changed? Because I got so much work done. Is it a new work technique? Is it some type of style? What is it? And I looked on my calendar and I realized that the only thing that I noticed is that I put a whole bunch of things on my calendar now. And I never wanted to operate from my calendar ever again. I didn't want this to be like my boss, my trap, my cage. And right now I don't care. I have a whole list of things. I'm slammed. So I said, well, what does that have to do with getting so much done? And then I said, well, it's because I haven't been thinking about what I feel like doing, which is why I filled on my calendar. Because if it was up to me, I don't want to fill up my calendar. I want to just chill out. And I said, okay, so I haven't been thinking about what I feel like doing, which is why my calendar's filled up. So that means I haven't been thinking about what I feel like doing. That means I haven't been thinking about myself, which means that's why I'm able to get so much things done because I haven't been thinking about myself. I said, wait, so that means I've been selfless.
Wow.
And if I've been selfless, that means I've been operating without ego because ego is self. And then I said, wait, that makes total sense. All of these learnings and teachings and lessons about letting go of the ego. But what does it mean to let go of the ego? And I realized at that moment, I haven't been thinking about what I want. I haven't been thinking about myself. Or in other words, I haven't been in the way and I've been working my butt off and not being in the way, which is why I got so much things done. And I haven't had the anxiety and the stress and all this stuff. And then the moment when I had that realization, anxiety popped in at that very moment. So I said, uh-oh, because I'm thinking about myself at that very moment. So I went right back to work. That very moment I stopped and I said, okay, let me go back to work. And then ever since that moment, which was about 4 years, sorry. So ever since that moment, which was about 4 years ago, I became aware of how to actually accomplish doing what I discovered 7 years ago. So it took me 3 years to get to that point. Because 7 years ago, I had the experience that it wasn't about thoughts. It was about awareness, not being aware of yourself, not just not thinking, not being aware of yourself. And then it took me 3 years to have this experience where I didn't think about myself and I was just focused on working because I needed to provide for the family. And then after that, the next 4 years is about how to be able to sustain that, not thinking about yourself. And now, 4 years in, I know how to do it now. And the way to do it is to express without care. To express fully. Express can be action, it can be words. Express, right? Life is just expression. Express without any care. Okay. That's the most practical, grounded way that I can explain it. Express without care. That means say whatever the heck you want to say. Don't give a shit about what any people think. Fuck them, fuck that, fuck everything, and just do whatever the heck you want to do. And if you are making a mess, you will know. because everybody's going to say, bro, you're making a mess. All right. People are going to leave you. People are going to, there's a lot of drama. Then if you're creating drama, you can decide either I'm going to let go of these people because these people can't handle me. This is the way I am. I'm going to express. Or we can decide that maybe we are too much and that we're being really, really just creating drama. Like we're just being an asshole. Here's the secret thing about this, because most of the time people are going to automatically think I'm going to be a mean person because I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm going to be so mean, right? And that's why I can't do that. I need to be nice. I need to be polite. Well, here's the thing they don't realize. When a person is free to say what they want, they stop being so upset on the inside. They stop being so bothered on the inside because they're free. You know how people feel? You know, when we started this conversation, all that uncomfortableness, we're going all the way back to the beginning now, right? Pull back. That uncomfortableness is because they're always holding back, because they're always trying to go ahead and look this way, talk this way, be this way, and do all that stuff. Of course you're agitated. You're always playing a game. It's just so tiring. You can never just say what you want. You're always having to watch your words, watch your language, watch your tonality, watch your body movement, watch the way you look. Always try to make you feel good. Of course, it's so much work. You just want to take a break from life. But if you just don't give a shit anymore and you just say whatever the heck you want to say, it's so liberating. And when it's so liberating, you don't even care to create drama for people because it's so much damn work to create drama for you. I don't care about creating drama for you. Now that I'm not creating drama for myself, I'm just going to say what I want to say. You don't like it, it's up to you, man. Just you can walk, man. It's all good. You don't give a shit anymore. Now what happens? People that love you the way you are, that align with your path, they come to you. And the people that don't, they go their ways. And it's all good because as we know, not everybody is supposed to stay in our life forever, right? We have different times and pockets and people come and go. It's all good. But now we get to stop fighting on the inside. And when we stop creating the drama on the inside, why am I thinking so much about myself anymore? I'm just going to express. I don't have to think about myself first and then express. I just express. It's like you just walk. You don't think about yourself and then walk. Just walk. But if you were to think about yourself first and then walk, you walk with being self-conscious. You walk into the room going, everybody's looking at me. All right. When we talk, we just talk. But if we were to think about ourselves and then talk, we talk with anxiety, with worry, with nervousness. You see, that's how we do it. It took me years to come to that understanding, which then goes full circle back. It's like people kind of hear this stuff. It's not a new news, but now all we're doing is we're just kind of putting it together so that when someone goes, don't care anymore, just express yourselves, they have to understand why. Because the goal of that is so that this way they can stop thinking about themselves and not be aware of themselves. And if they're not aware of themselves, then they don't get in the way of what they do. And now they can fully do whatever they want to do. They become free. And being free feels really, really good on the inside.
Love it.
Yeah. So.
No, thank you for expressing yourself like this. I really enjoying it. And I love it that it has such I mean, I read so many books. I'm educated as hell, about whatever you want to know. But I really have to admit that you made the next step. You made the next move to combining the dots, and I really enjoy it how you share your experience, and I really can adapt to it because there were moments in your stories where like, oh wow, that's a nice connect. Wow, nice. So I'm fully loaded, full of energy, and thank you. I really enjoy it. Thank you. Beautiful.
My pleasure, Christian.
Really beautiful. Gold. Okay, we did not book 3 hours today, but yeah, beautiful. It's really. I will watch it again because directly afterwards, because there were some connections you made. I really want to feel into it. Maybe during I'm pushing some pain points here on my body. Cool. So, for the audience, yeah, if you think now I Mike called me up like you did for me, Flow 60. This is your actual program, yeah. What is the idea behind it? What do people get there from you?
So Flow 60 is a training system. It's a training system that has this philosophy, that has movements. The movements are a daily practice every morning and every evening, doing practice, because I realize the goal is still the same. Get the body to relax, get the mind to be still, right? And we've been talking about going deeper into those layers. And even though everybody wants to have that one moment and then everything is great afterwards, but in reality, even though I had that moment, 10 years ago, I still couldn't maintain it. I still needed to figure out what I needed to do every day. And this practice is a combination of 5 different training methods combined together in a very specific sequence so that it allows our body to be able to let go of the tightness and of the pain deeper and deeper and deeper. And because it's a daily practice, so we're not having to go from just normal to just extreme, shock or shift. It happens gradually and it's sustainable, which is the most important. Because if somebody wants to have an extreme thing, they can just take a psychedelic and suddenly within moments you shift. But we all know, for anybody that's taken it, you all know how it feels like. You're back to normal. You have, a couple days of that after effect, and then you're back to normal, back to old life. And then now you're thinking in the back of your mind, when's the next time I'm gonna pop that thing again? And over time, now you become just a drug use person. You're just on substances constantly. It's just not sustainable in the long run for anybody who's thinking, maybe I just do that. No. So this practice allows a person to be sustained in connecting back to themselves, releasing the tension in their body and clearing their mind. We start off with tap massage, tapping the body, shaking the body, right? Clearing the knots, clearing the tightness, opening up the fascia, regulating nervous system. Then they do strength training. Strength training is good for generally strength, functionality, cardio, things like that, which they'll definitely improve on. But what I discovered is that people can use strength training to actually exert energy, to open up energy. When somebody's upset, what do they naturally do? Do they go, let me relax? Or they go, bang, bang, I'm upset, right? They exert energy. It's what the body naturally wants to do. I feel pent up and I want to exert. So instead of us exerting in that aggressive manner, therefore developing more behavioral of that aggressiveness, instead use strength training. Use strength training to exert that energy. And then by doing so, they build all the effects, all the benefits of strength training, and they start to release pent up energy that's been accumulated. So it doesn't get stored up and we don't blow up. So then after they do strength training, we do 12 specific exercises. They're very, very functional, body weight. Anybody can do it. If you're in great shape, it will be very effective for you. If you're not, it's easy to do. Okay, so after that, then they go into stretching to go ahead and release the adrenaline that was built up from the strength training to be able to go deeper into the body through elongating and shortening, which is different than exertion. So it's just another method of doing exactly the same thing, which is open up the energy, but deeper. And they start to calm down and connect back to the body. It's easier to connect to the body when the body is more slower, when the body's movements are still or more slow, right? It's hard to connect when the body is like really fast, right? So then stretching is much slower than strength training. So we're moving towards connection. And then breathing is even deeper, right? So we're going deeper into the body. We're now focusing more on the energy and not so much on the muscles and the cardio and all of that. So we're able to clear deeper into the body and prepare the body to go into meditation. Meditation is the very last one because we just cleared everything. Our mind is still. And if we don't meditate at the very end, it's like a waste. It's like our body and mind is completely prepared. And now all we have to do is connect directly to it. So that's why we meditate at the very end. If a person does strength training or they do stretching or they do any physical activity, which all helps with opening up the energy, and they don't meditate, and then they decide to meditate at another time, then it's completely a waste. Because if we were to sit here right now and just to meditate, we would first have to deal with the tension in our body. We have to deal with the contents in our mind. And it's going to take a little while for it to slow down, right? Like one of those things where you shake up and there's all this dust and stuff. Dust has to settle. That time for it to settle, what are we doing? Sitting here, nothing. So then what I realized is during the time, instead of sitting here doing nothing, we can do all of these practices to prepare the body and mind to relax and get ready for meditation while getting the benefits of strength, endurance, flexibility. So then now when we meditate, we go real deep into meditation instantly because the body is all prepared. And now we don't have to spend the 20 minutes of time to prepare for meditation. And then when we're done meditating, we're back to being centered, very calm, very still, and we just got a really good physical workout for the body on every level. Everybody wants to have muscles. Nobody wants to be flabby. Everybody wants flexibility. They want mobility and range of motion. They want strong cardio. They want resilience. You want to be able to take some hits in the body and not feel like you're going to break, right? Especially as people get older. This is why tap massage is really great. And so now they get all of that as well as the internal meditative state, which we know is the highest state for consciousness, being in a meditative state, a state of no self, meditation, going all the way back, right? So that's what Flow 60 is. That's the entire training system. There are 60 moves, there's 7 training principles, and we train every morning, every evening. The same practice, because there could be so many different practices, but the fact is we don't need a whole bunch of practices. The reason why people don't stick to something is because it's too confusing. They end up thinking about more than they actually do. So the way I designed it, one practice, you do it every morning and you do half of it in the evening. So in the morning, you do the tap massage, strength, stretching, breathing, and meditation. And then in the evening, you do stretching, breathing, and meditation. You don't need to do the tap or the strength training anymore. And because it's the same one, a person memorizes the sequence really fast.
True.
And when they memorize it, now you don't even have to think. Instantly, they sit there and they start to hop and instantly the energy starts to move. So now it's sustainable. Because if it's not sustainable, what's the point? Now this is sustainable, and it's sustainable for them to increase their strength, endurance, flexibility, all the way into old age. And all of it includes meditation, breath work, which is all things that we need to create a total state of well-being. Nobody wants to be one-sided. I spent a long time meditating, and at the end, I got really still in my mind, but my body got really weak. And I became stiff. Even though I was really still, I could just sit there and drop into meditation because I was practicing meditating for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes a day. But I was weak, I was flabby, and I was stiff. And then when I did a whole bunch of strength training, I was strong and athletic, and my mind wasn't still and I couldn't connect to myself. So I said, there's got to be a way to go ahead and do all of it together. So I did. And my practice was 4 hours long. And I said, well, that's not sustainable. So then I started to stack things together. Like, for example, when we do a movement, I just made a video the other day on social media, on My Chain Official on Instagram, where I taught one movement, which is heart openers. And a lot of people are copying this online, but they don't know how to really do it. The movement breaks down into 4 different things. The first one is a bounce, bouncing the body. And then the next one is the arms. So then now the bouncing and the arms starts to move energy throughout the body. Bouncing itself activates the lymphatic system. So the body is already flushing out everything. And then the arms is removing tension from the chest, shoulders, and upper back. And then the breath. So every time when we close, we exhale through the nose. And so it's like a breath of fire, combined with the arms, combined with the bounce. And then the last thing is the eyes. No blinking. So then now when we don't blink, this allows us to maintain constant attention into the present moment, outer presence, what's in front of us. So now we combine all 4 together. So now what we have is a practice that eyes, training for focus and presence, and the bouncing breathing, and arms to release all the toxins, release the tightness, open up this vessel so that more energy can flow. Because, we talked about mind, right? If the mind is really busy, it creates tension in the body. Well, now the mind can be controlled directly through eyes. If we practice not blinking, then we're having to focus on what's in front of us. If we focus on what's in front of us, by default, our attention is more here and less in our mind. You see? So this is just one mechanism. Yeah, one mechanism for presence. Breath becomes another mechanism for presence. And then all of the shaking and the arms is another mechanism for presence. So it becomes a meditative practice, as well as you bet you're going to open up, because all of this constant movement there is opening up the energy. And that's just one movement. And there are other principles, mental principles, that could be applied as well. But I didn't want it to be too complicated, so I just left it at 4. So over time, what we do is we stack multiple principles all simultaneously at one time. But it's difficult for a person to do in the beginning, so they do one at a time, because there's 7 principles. So every movement is just one movement. But when you fully do it, you're stacking multiple different things. This is how I combine it from 4 hours to 60 minutes, or somebody can do it less now. So then now it's the same practice. And when a beginner is doing it, they're not going to stack all these things. They're just going to copy me and just do it, and they're going to feel great. And then when they keep doing it, then they start to notice details. They start to notice that they can bounce better than before. And now, just by bouncing, they're already opening up energy. They haven't even waved their arms around, because they're connected to their body. They have better control. And they realize their breath is stronger. Before, they were just like, and now they're like, and just
Like
without even moving, right? And their breath is so strong now, right? And so all of these things start to advance, and they start to move towards mastering these very simple movements. I always talk about Bruce Lee's teaching, because I was studying his teachings before, and how he talked about that one quote where he says, "I don't fear a man that practices, right, 10,000 different punches one time. I fear the man that practices one punch 10,000 times. That's a brutal punch." And so imagine that we practice these things, like how many, like practicing these simple moves over and over and over until we become a master of this one simple move, of that one simple move. And now with being a master of that, we can be very, very effective with minimum amount of moves, minimum amount of time. I can do 10 heart openers and get more results than somebody doing 50 of them, because every move that I do has more vibration, has stronger breath. I'm able to clear faster. And now, with that level of mastery, if I wanted to learn any other movement, anything, it's an easy bridge, because we already have control over the body, control over the breath, control over attention. So it becomes like an opener into any type of movement. So that's Flow 60. And that's what I teach now online. I make videos about it all the time. It's just so simple. I designed it so that everybody can learn how to do it. It doesn't need to be somebody who is very advanced. You don't need to. Most people that do this are a whole big range. If a person hasn't moved for years, they can start off and still do it, and they'll feel great. And if an advanced person who studies all of this type of somatic work and they're movers, they do it, it'll be great for their body anyways. And it'll be challenging, because once they get to the strength training part, it's still very challenging. And if they're very strong, we can make it even more challenging. Very, very easy, small little components. Because we're doing 12 exercises. Imagine you do push-ups. Let's say you, me, and another person, we all are doing push-ups together right now. And we just do it for 30 seconds, right? So then however many we do. And then after that, we go into the next exercise called prone cobras. And if this person is struggling, then they just do 4 prone cobras in the 30 seconds. And let's say you do 8 and then I do 7. Great. Then we move on to the next. So we're doing it by time, so it doesn't matter what level we're at. We're all doing it together. And then now another person, now we're going to burpees. And then now we got the 4th person comes in, and this 4th person is like professional athlete. And so I do 10 burpees in 30 seconds. You do 9. This woman does 2, and the professional guy does 20. Well, great. Right now, because that person is doing what they need for their body, because their cardio is so strong. Great. We're all still doing it together. And so for every single person, they're doing exactly what they need. And if they want to take it to another level, they can do a burpee where they do a jump and split their legs and all this extra stuff to make it more difficult. While the woman who is very low in she's just walking out in the burpee, not even doing a push-up. But every one of these exercises have modifications that can be more advanced. And there are infinite amounts of progressions. And so this system becomes really simple for people to do together, no matter what fitness level. Families do together, right? Husbands and wives and all of that, while they have the potential to go very advanced and get to really, really good shape. And they are an opener for all of these different things. Tap massage is the opener for QiOne practices and any practice involving physical contact with the body, right? Strength training is a opener for calisthenics, for any type of calisthenics, for weight training, anything that has to do with resistance training. Stretching is an opener for dynamic movements and yoga for a person who wants to go into different poses and all that. Breathing, we do a simple breath work, but that can open up into more complex breath works and retentions. And meditation, well, there's plenty of different styles of meditation. But, there's a lot of people that don't do any of those things. And if they just did this simple format, they would be able to get so much results. And it's the same thing that they do every day. So it's not complex. And most people will find it to be more than enough. They'll be in the best shape of their life and they don't have to learn anything new. They just learn one practice, how to do it correctly, and their health would increase. That's all I really do. I don't do anything else. I can do so many other things. And about 85% of my time, I'm just doing these practice. The 15% is random. I've got kids. I roll around and play like a kid. That's my mobility. So.
And I promise you, Mike is definitely in shape. I saw it. Yeah. I love your idea. Of course, I'm absolute on your page. This regular training of specific parts, like as you said, this one punch you practice 10,000 times. That's definitely the way I would recommend anybody to do anything. Depends on if it's business or if it's shaping your body. That's the way you should go. And I love your idea that you put this into 60 minutes, and also you have this I call it now the seven rules, where people should follow, where you set up step by step. And this reminds me a lot about my spiritual journey, about the ideas I read about and stuff experienced in my body. So it's one of the most profound system I ever heard about, I have to admit. So good job, my friend.
Oh, thank you. I can't take credit for it. Everything exists. Nothing is new. Nothing is made up. All I did was just take the great teachers of our past and present and just look at it and just just put it together in a different way. All of this stuff exists everywhere. It's all in different places. And I just took it and just designed it in a way that worked really great for me and for many people that are looking for something really simple and effective. But in reality, these type of teachings and philosophy has been around for a long time. So,
but this is what I also always say about the QiOne, about like every idea exists in the quantum field, no? And you can. I also like to expression to download it, to see it, to combine it, to bring it into a modern language, modern perspective, so that the people from this age can relate to it. No, if you're reading a book like from 1500s, the language is different, the desires of the people is different. So maybe there's a nice perspective in it, but like 99.999% of the population would not or could not tap into it. And of course, it's too way off their daily living. So I deeply respect the thing you have done, that you combining it and bringing it into 2026, huh? Cool. And then we put the link down. I guess it's flow60.com, huh?
Yeah, flow60.com, where we're creating we're launching a membership, so this way we can have all the practices, all the teachings, and instead of having to have people buy different ones and spend money on that, they just do a membership and they can have everything. So we're launching that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then all my guests at the end of the talk, I always like to ask their personal experience. Yeah, you're wearing that G1 2 Pro, yeah, and for the audience, we met through Unity. It's maybe for the American speakers. It's a Switzerland company located in Switzerland, and I personally had my first introduction with Dr. Joe. It was the first online course I ever did, 10 years ago, I guess. So that's where I had my first contact with Unity. And they have all the big, interesting persons like Mike. Yeah, he's also there online and also a speaker there. And Halil is a good friend of us both. He's working for Unity, and he gives the G1 2 Pros for big speakers. It's a kind of present, from the Unity. Gives some presents to the speaker, and that's how the G1 moved to you. Of course, a little thought about and said, yeah, Mike's definitely gonna love it. Yeah. So, what was your, if I can ask, what was your first experience hanging around?
Well, I have to be honest. I usually don't wear any jewelry at all, at all. Necklaces, rings, watches, anything. Uh, it's I just like to have nothing on me. So so then when I got the necklace, I was like, okay, well, first of all, I love the way it looks and I love the way it feels. It has a good weight in it. It's not too light, it's not too heavy, but it feels solid because I love the way it feels and I love the necklace and the length and the look of it. It reminds me of a thumbnail, like a thumbnail drive with like an energetic thumbnail drive is the way that I see it, you know. Uh, but I started wearing it, and I don't wear it all the time because I can't wear things all the time. But I like to wear it sometimes, and also when I go out, I like to wear something that looks good, also feels good because I can't wear many things. So I wear this for that, and it feels good. It feels solid. I like to usually put it inside my shirt. Today I just wore it outwards. But it feels good for me. You know, sometimes certain necklaces just don't. Um, I just don't like the way it feels. I don't know why. It's just not something that I do. But this one feels good. You know, it feels good. I feel grounded. I feel grounded. I feel solid. I have two of them. I gave one of them to my mother for her to wear. Yeah, yeah. So I'm really glad. I'm really glad I have it. And thank you for being so generous and providing it to, you know, to speakers and to people. And that's very generous of you. Yeah, I was really glad to be introduced to it.
Thank you. Thank you. Then I would say this was Mike Chang. I'm really thankful for this podcast. It was really a deep dive, and we had at the beginning we were talking about what we could talk about, and we don't and totally left this aside, and we went straight to the deep topics. Yeah, and you really yeah went deep into your personal story. Thanks a lot for this, Mike. And as always, the last words are always to my guests. So if you want to share something.
Um, I think we shared a lot of really great things today. My last thing is to take it into action. Take it into action. If I had to summarize the actions to take, would be number one, anybody who's dealing with tightness and you're struggling to have pains and tightness in your body, what I recommended right in the beginning of downloading an interval timer and setting it up for 1 hour every single time, and just select maybe 3 stretches, 5 stretches. It can even be one stretch. The concept here is just doing it consistently. Okay, you can spend 30 seconds or less every single hour. If you do that, you become more flexible. And it takes no time commitment. It's an awesome way to take a very, very tiny, tiny short break from work. And you can do it anywhere, anytime, wearing anything. Okay. And there's no specific stretch, just whatever stretch that feels good for you. That's a great way to go ahead and release tension. So I always recommend doing that for anybody. And for somebody that wants to go a little further and they want to establish a daily practice, I'll say check out flow60.com. You can go to my Instagram and check out some of the practices, but do a morning and evening practice. That would be the next best thing to go ahead and start to establish a routine. And the last thing, which is to support that, learning things is great for our mind, but learning things is just needed so that we know what actions we need to take. And taking the actions in our body is what most of us will need in order to create a level of fulfillment and inner peace. Very, very advanced levels is using only mind. Use the body, clear the body, and the mind will clear. So take the actions with physical practice, meditate every single day, make that a staple of your self-care, and everything will come together. And if they don't know why, go back into the podcast and listen to the details.
Mike, Chang, thank you.
Thank you, Christian.